CrackBerry Nations, this is Renee, your friendly neighborhood podcast producer, and I'm just here to let you know that today's episode of the CrackBerry.com podcast is brought to you by Hover.com. Get 10% off your domain registration by visiting hover.com/crackberry. Check out our sponsor, show your support, and now on with the show. CrackBerry.com.
CrackBerry.com podcast 082 for Thursday, February 16th, 2012.
Hey everybody, Kevin here for CrackBerry.com, joined as, well, kind of always by the ABC of podcasting. We got Adam.
Hola.
We've got Blaze on audio today.
Good morning.
And then we've got, not Craig, because he's on a flight to Australia, but we've got Chris Umiastowski joining us. So we've got the C, we've got the ABC. I'm glad we found a worthy replacement, Chris. We've been having a lot of fun with you on the site lately.
Yeah, it's
great editorials. So guys, this has been, when was our last podcast? We did the year-end show or something?
Forever ago.
And pause. Renee, did we lose video?
I think we did.
Nope, we're still broadcasting it.
Wow, okay, so it just went black on my screen.
Yeah, it's back.
I think we're good.
Okay, and resume. So it's been forever since we've recorded a show. I think it was literally our end of year special back in, mid-December or something, leading up to the holidays, before I went away skiing and didn't break any bones. But we're back. It's been a crazy busy couple of months, right? Which is sort of the primary reason why we haven't recorded a show. But a lot's happened, obviously. We had CES in January back in Las Vegas. So Adam and I were both at that. We had, that was really the PlayBook OS 2.0 show, right, Adam?
Mm-hmm.
So we got to see a lot of things. We'll talk about in more detail shortly. From there, it was a couple of comm weeks. And then this crazy news that RIM's got a new CEO. So we've got a lot to talk about on that because, I mean, that kind of blindsided all of us. And that launched a couple weeks of craziness. And then I just came back from BlackBerry DevCon Europe. But before that, it was kind of like BlackBerry 10 craziness because we saw some new photos emerge and things of what's going on there. So as far as CrackBerry podcasts go, we've got a lot of stuff to cover. So let's just get into it. And I think where I want to start is CES. I mean, the news of the show was that I bought a $500 application because Adam left early and didn't stop me from buying it. It's a clock app.
Do you still have it or are you using it?
No, it's disabled because I have a Let's Rock and Roll this wallpaper, but I'm going to open it really quick. I'll enable it because I need to show this. I don't know if it'll come.
I want to
through
see it.
the screen.
I haven't actually seen what a
Didn't
$500
I
app
did
looks like.
Didn't you watch the video?
No. I was too devastated that it happened and I couldn't bring myself to watch it.
So really, that video got like over 250,000 views. So I think maybe I paid off the app. I can't even line it up here. Oh my god.
Everything goes in reverse if you're looking at your screen.
There it is. There it is.
Yeah,
Kinda.
Down. There you go.
No, down more.
Down.
There. That's it. That's $500 right there. Ridiculous. No, obviously that wasn't the talk of the show, but it was kind of a fun, stupid thing to do. But really, we got to see PlayBook OS 2.0. Now, we've obviously seen some of the developer betas earlier, going back to DevCon last year. So the real news here was we got to see native email and messaging and calendar, and we got some great demos on things like BlackBerry Balance. And I mean, Adam, you saw it. You were there. What do you think of it all? Worth a year's wait?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think, it was kind of cool because we knew, some of what to expect. I think they sent out a press release, earlier in the morning. It was kind of a RIM previews PlayBook 2.0, and it had a whole bunch of stuff in it. It was the native email calendar contacts that we knew about. And then there was stuff like the BlackBerry remote, which was pretty cool, which I think we were kind of looking forward to. I know I was pretty excited about that because you get this huge vision of sitting in your living room and hooking your PlayBook up to your TV and then just being on the couch with your BlackBerry, being able to navigate around and essentially using your TV as a giant computer. But the all the native PIM apps were kind of bigger and better than we've seen them in the past. You know, the integrated inbox had, I think at CES it had LinkedIn and Facebook. I don't think there was Twitter at that point, or maybe there was Twitter and no Facebook.
Other way, yeah. There's no Facebook, but there was Twitter and LinkedIn.
But that was kind of cool, you know, and they showed it off, you know, and stuff like video chat, got a lot of improvements and things like that. So it was cool. So there was a lot of stuff. I mean, you know, it wasn't the chaos of running around like it was last year at CES, you know, when all the playbook stuff was super new, but it was still, you know, it was, I think, kind of more relaxed, but it was just very, you know, laid out like of all the stuff we wanted to get a look at just to see the improvements and everything. But I think for the most part, it had come a pretty long way. So it was still, you know, it was exciting in a sense, but it was more of just the, you know, the anticipation of I want it now. And it was just how, I guess, you know, how polished everything was and just how much it had come along. So, you know, I'm pretty excited to finally get our hands on it because we didn't really get a chance to delve into it too much aside from our previews and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, I think, you know, the thing I liked is obviously with BlackBerry smartphones and RIM's, you know, 10-year legacy and history, it's always been in communications. So obviously that's why the playbook got ripped apart so hard, you know, when it launched was where's the stuff RIM's known for? And it just wasn't there, right? There wasn't enough time for RIM to build it the way they wanted to build it. So that's what we're seeing now is sort of a new vision of where you can go on this new platform. And it's pretty good. I mean, you know, conceptually, it's a little bit like I guess probably Palm and WebOS introduced that concept of synergy, right? You know, Blaze, that's kind of a fair thing to say, I think.
Yeah.
And that's where, you know, a lot of this to me kind of that notion came from, right? And I remember when WebOS was unveiled and I first saw that presentation at CES, I guess a couple of years previous, I love that synergy concept where it's like, let's just enter in all your account info and then the device does the rest, right? It pulls everything in throughout your contacts and your well, I don't know if it did the calendar to the extent RIM's doing with it, but it was that nice easy thing, right? Just plug it in and you kind of have the phone populates itself. And that's what RIM's done here. They've really worked well with the cloud. And you know, one of the acquisitions they made last year was for a company called Gist, and I think that's partially what we're seeing in this being done here, right? Is they've tapped into the Gist platform to really pull everything back.
For sure, creepy too, because me and Adam tried Gist out, and Gist pulls like contact information from everywhere.
Well, exactly. Oh, yeah. So this is like they've taken kind of what was started with Synergy, and to me, they've really taken it to the next level. And the integration into the main inbox is very intuitive. You know, like people are asking, well, is there still going to be a native Twitter client? And honestly, I hope they do a full-blown Twitter client, but I think it's the kind of thing where this is going to work for a lot of people as it is, the way it's integrated into the communication side. You're going to find yourself just, you know, tweeting out of there all the time. So I'm excited, but more so than the playbook, I'm excited for the BlackBerry 10 phones to get this, because to me, you know, I use my phone as my primary communication tool. That's what's always kept me glued to BlackBerry is that speed of communication. And I've been a little afraid that on, you know, the QNX platform, we were going to lose some of this into more of an open close kind of iOS type of environment, which is what I hate, right? It's what every time I try to use a different device, I'm like, give me my BlackBerry back. So now I'm a lot more excited because I think BlackBerry 10 phones are going to really just kick ass at communication, which is what they need to do. They need to just kill everybody in that area still, right? They can't ever give that up.
Yeah,
Chris,
I mean,
what do you
Kevin,
think?
they had, you know, they didn't just rip off Palm's Synergy idea. Like they had Facebook and Twitter notifications coming into email on the BlackBerry for a long time. But I think by giving you a consolidated sign-in process and just adding your accounts, it makes tons more sense. It's just far, far better. And I agree with you. I mean, if we get that great BlackBerry experience and they use the Gist stuff and they use the TAT stuff to just make it look so much more appealing than we've ever seen out of RIM, I think they could do something unique and get people on board with, you know, BlackBerry looks sexy again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, one of the big things on the email side, obviously, was, you know, and it caused us to kerfluffle. And Chris, I had you do that little bit of a research piece on it. Is, you know, they've gone away from using the knock for the email relay, and they're using ActiveSync for the transport. And that caused a lot of, you know, alarms, like alarm bells to ring. It's like, well, what's this mean, you know, for the revenue? What's this mean for the actual enterprise management, for biz. What's it mean for the end user? And, you know, from my end user perspective, it means good things because, I mean, we tried it, we tested it. It's the same speed or faster than BlackBerry today for email. Plus all of these historical nagging issues we've had with, you know, Gmail sync doesn't work and all that seem to have gone away, right? It's all fixed with using ActiveSync here.
I can't wait to download OS 2 and test it out because, yeah, I'm so frustrated with having to use Gmail and ignore deleting anything on anything other than my BlackBerry. I have to delete it on my BlackBerry or it won't disappear from the BlackBerry.
I know. It's kind of annoying. I mean, how are you supposed to do you know, seedy, unsavory things if you can't trust that the right messages are getting deleted everywhere? No, but no, I mean,
issue every single really day. It's dreadful.
Yeah. And but you know, we did find out, and we did get clarification too, that you know, obviously the knock isn't going away. I mean, I think for us, the way to start thinking of it, and I think we start to see RIM even embrace the term cloud services more. You know, I think even at DevCon last week, you know, on stage, kind of Torsten Heinz brought out sort of BlackBerry 10, the platform slide, and he kind of walked through what it all means. And there's that integration with BlackBerry cloud services. And that's kind of what the knock is evolving to. And we should probably start embracing that term a little bit more because that's what it is. And, you know, they've got massive infrastructure, massive servers that do a lot of things, and it's still going to run, you know, the BBM, the video chat. Even in the email, they're taking advantage of the knock and the cloud services to do all of the heavy lifting on account setup. So, you know, you just put in your email address and password. You're not configuring SMTP servers and all that. They're doing that on their end. So, I don't know. I think it's a pretty exciting. They still have work to do, but everything seems to be panning out the way it needs to.
Agree.
Yes.
CES, what else was cool? We saw the QNX car.
We did, yeah.
And it had a lot of playbooks in it. You know, in the dashboard, there was a nice playbook. On the back seats, there were playbooks. You started to see some of the power of QNX there too, because, you know, I guess playbooks can talk to each other really seamlessly through, or QNX devices can talk to each other really seamlessly through, what's it called? The QNet? I think they have a protocol or a language for how those things work. But it kind of gives you a glimpse of maybe what the future is going to look like, right? As we start to see RIM not just sell a phone or a tablet, but have multiple devices and everything really working together everywhere. And man, sitting on the dashboard of that car, even there was this like super high res display that just looked awesome, kind of in the shape of like a phone form factor lying down. But I don't know what it was, Adam. Any ideas? Adam, you're silent. Adam, are you not there? You don't know the question. You're just ignoring it.
It's like we lost his audio.
Can I plead the fifth?
He's pleading the fifth. We'll for anybody who actually listens to this podcast.
That was a BlackBerry 10 device.
No, Adam, or sorry, Blaze, don't talk about things like that you don't know for certain.
Blasphemy.
Yeah, you're right. I'm not for certain, but I can allude to it.
I did see a forum thread. I did see a forum thread in our forums kind of making that statement, thinking, hey, maybe that's a BlackBerry 10 device on that dashboard. And I mean, there was a lot of people around that car all the time watching. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, I can't say if anybody would have swiped on that display, what would have happened. But you know, just because I can't say it doesn't mean I don't know it. So we'll just leave it at that, right? People are like, what are you guys talking about right now?
That's awesome.
Some people are going to get that. And it was super high res. That's what really struck out at me. In addition to maybe what happened when you kind of like touched it and swiped, but I don't want to talk about things I just, you know, I'm dreaming about here and obviously don't know what I'm talking about. Can't talk. So that's what we do on these podcasts. Kevin. And moving on as I choke. Anything else CES, or is it time to move on to the next big news?
Wasn't the Playbook remote stuff at CES too? Did we talk about that?
Yeah. So, I mean, in addition to native email, you know, there's other Playbook OS 2 features that we haven't fully been privy to, right? So one of the new features getting baked in is new bridge functionality. So the the BlackBerry remote basically lets you use your phone as a mouse for your playbook. So like Adam said, if you plugged your playbook up to your TV or something, you could sit on your couch with your phone and control your playbook by swiping on the screen or using the trackpad. And also use the keyboard. And that's something we wanted, that when we first saw the playbook and we were like, oh, it's a touchscreen keyboard. Man, if I could only use the keyboard on my phone to type on my playbook, how awesome would that be? And then when the 9900 came out, we were like, oh man, if I could just use this keyboard and type on the playbook, that'd be even better. And you can do that. I mean, the implementation is okay. I don't know. I mean, Adam, you used it a bit there too. Like, I wouldn't say it was still perfect, because when it comes to like text entry, you're kind of entering it on like into a screen, and some of the things I noticed didn't seem as BlackBerry like, like highlighting text, and I can't remember if like things like shortcuts and that were working. So it was more like a pure text entry environment, but it was still cool. And
we had some issues too, as far as like the navigation thing, because the remote allows you to do like the bezel swipes and stuff like that. And I remember one of the big issues we had was trying to do like the, I guess it was the bottom to top swipe on the 9900 or whatever was there. And it just seemed like, because from what I remember, the remote has, kind of like a sort of image or border of the playbook bezel. And just trying to get it all in the right spot was a little shaky. So it was kind of difficult, I think.
Yeah, I was going to assume that was probably, early phase too, and by the time it hits, it should be good, because I did see some other demos with it since then where it seemed a lot smoother. So even at DevCon Europe, actually, I looked at that and it was like, oh, it seemed pretty good again. So maybe that was just whatever software was running on the BlackBerry itself or something else. So we'll see, right? It's gonna PlayBook OS 2. Bottom line, it's dropping soon. It's got to drop this month. There's some contention over the dates. I mean, Chris, Blaze, what's the latest? 17th or 20th or 27th or? I
stuck with the 17th for a while, but now I have to roll with the 21st.
21st.
Yeah.
my original thought was honestly Mobile World Congress. I was like, MWC hits, just make it available the first day, right? Because people are looking for press releases at Mobile World Congress. So BlackBerry's press release could be, PlayBook OS 2 now available for download, blah 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 blah.
No, I think if they did that, it would detract from their whole unveiling of it and the release of it, because there's going to be so much other stuff going on during Mobile World Congress that it could get lost in the flood of information. So
But
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
if they do that, I want to see them surprise us with something new as part of OS 2 that we weren't expecting.
Okay, but so here's my question: everybody's kind of seen OS 2, knows more or less what's coming. I mean, if you're a RIM, do you want to make a huge deal about this thing? Even it's not a new product, right? It's a software update. It's a software update that's addressing a lot of the nagging concerns from the original playbook. It's not BlackBerry 10, which is what you're really building up to putting your marketing dollars and, you want Walt Mossberg and David Pogue's like stamp of approvals on it. So I don't know how big a deal they want to make out of it. If you make too big of a deal and then people start having the expectation of this is the new RIM, like this is the BlackBerry 10 finished product, maybe you have more to lose than you have to gain than just kind of getting it out there and making your playbook owners happy. All your retailers can kind of sell it. We've already saw some Best Buy ads with PlayBook OS 2 is coming, that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's not a bad thing to bury it a little bit, I'm curious to see what RIM does on the media side, right? Are they going to reach out to guys and say, hey, are they going to send out review units again? It's the same hardware, right? Or are they just going to say, hey, maybe now is a good time to take a look at this again? Maybe for the reviewers who don't have phones, they would say, well, we can hook you up with a BlackBerry and a playbook so you can try out all the bridge stuff too. I just don't know what they're going to do with it. It's going to be, all I know is I'm not under embargo for anything right now.
Not yet.
So then, that's kind of the thing that makes me wonder how they're going to roll it out exactly. Because if I'm going to get it from a media standpoint when everybody else does, then that kind of says, maybe they're not making a big, here it is world. They're just kind of dropping it out there. I'm sure there'll be a press release, but
they've got to do something. They've been making such a big deal about it, and it is a big deal in terms of showing us what they can do. I think they will do something. I mean, they'd be silly to just silently drop it.
Yeah, they need to make a big deal out of it, because the biggest point of concern when it first came out, the biggest concern that everybody had with it who reviewed it was the fact that it didn't have email. Well, it did technically have email. You just needed a BlackBerry with it. And the most people that gave the shitty ass reviews for it didn't have a BlackBerry. They weren't BlackBerry users, so of course they're going to slam it. So they need to go ahead and make some sort of a big fuss out of it, just to be able to go ahead and hopefully turn around some of those crappy reviews that came out. So
it's true, but I still think, like if you're RIM right now, especially in the US market, your full mindset is on the launch of the new phones and killing that. And it's almost like if you can fly a little under the radar with the media not beating up on you, because right now PlayBook OS 2 is going to launch, and let's say those guys do review it. They're going to say, okay, it addresses some of these concerns, native email, we like the integration of this. Honestly, the hardware's still powerful a year later. Like, it's still awesome hardware compared to everything on the market. They're going to say there's more apps. We're still missing a bunch of apps. The Android app player experience is not what we were hoping it would be. So there's going to be a bit of a slam against that, I think. So then, I don't know. I mean, that's still better, but it's not what you're hoping you want as a message, right? You don't need more big media messages coming across saying, like, this still isn't good enough. You just need to, like, kind of get out there, and then BlackBerry 10 hits and boom, blow people away, or at least make them change their tune altogether and be excited again. I don't know. We'll see what happens, right? It's days away, so.
Yeah, I think once 2.0 launches, I think most of the criticisms, aside from the app ecosystem, really go away.
Hopefully. Right. Okay, CES 2012, moving on, or what do you think? Did we miss anything?
No, I think we're pretty solid.
No, we just need to mention that they had the video store. The video store is coming. They didn't necessarily show it off full blast at CES, but they have a video store that's coming so that you can go ahead and rent movies and TV shows and all of that, which, even though it's not something that I would probably use most times because I have my own ecosystems, but for them to actually go ahead and put that in there at this point, that's something that they needed. They need an ecosystem, which is something that I've been strongly saying for a long time. Like, they need an ecosystem to be able to buy movies, get content on your playbook, get movies, get TV shows, get music. And now they seem to be bringing all of those small pieces together, and we're going to get a good look at that with the PlayBook OS 2.0, which will hopefully transition itself over to PlayBook or BlackBerry 10 as well.
So here's what I'm hoping too.
If you buy great content on BlackBerry 10 devices, get your movies, your TV shows, your music on BlackBerry 10 devices, and have it all work copacetically, then that's awesome, because it's something that they've needed for quite a long time.
But here's the caveat to that, though, is so there's capabilities and then there's user experience. So I think OS 2, you're going to see the capabilities get filled out. So there will be the video store, there's the music store, etc. The key thing for BlackBerry 10, though, is they need to integrate it into one payment system, where when I log in and I create my BlackBerry ID account and then I put in my credit card or PayPal info for it, that needs to tie directly into the video app and into the music app. And we know with the music app, you still need to create a 7-digital music account and pay through there. And it's a separate system. And that's crap. Yeah. That's not a good experience. It needs to be tied to my BBID. I get charged through that. And then I don't care how RIM, at the end of the month, cuts 7-digital a check and back and forth. But until they fix that, it's not an ecosystem that is going to be well received by me. And if I don't well receive it, I don't know what the heck is going to happen from everybody else. They're going to tear it apart.
Agreed.
I think that's an editorial for me to write.
That's another portion of the whole ecosystem drama that they have to go ahead and complete, really. But
yeah,
if they start working on it and they start having some of those pieces together, then they can move on to making a payment process that is more complete for it as well. So, I mean, before they didn't necessarily have everything all together, but at least now they have some pieces to work with. They got the movie store, they got the 7-digital store. They're working on making everything work together rather than not offering anything at all. You know, you need to be able to offer stuff to consumers who want those things, because technically, I mean, if when the playbook launched, nobody had a way to be able to go ahead and get content on their playbook. Where are you going to get movies at for your playbook? You can't really. You know, what are you going to do? Buy them from iTunes and transfer them over? There's no, but if you're not in that system, like for example iTunes, then you're not going to be transferring iTunes movies to your playbook or anything like that. There's just nothing there.
So that's an interesting point you raised, and that's, you know, I have a list of editorials I've been wanting to write, and I'm slowly kind of picking them off. So one of them is about the ecosystem thing, right? And they need to round out the purchasing by BlackBerry 10. Another one I want to write is exactly that. And, you know, RIM now has BlackBerry ID or BBID. I want another RIM slogan or whatever it's called, abbreviation, to be BB Easy, which would be the easy migration from another platform over to BlackBerry. And I think that's one of the biggest things. You know, I've had this debate with a lot of guys, some of the guys on our team who are all very smart, critical thinkers. And that's one of the big hurdles is, you know, once you get invested into an ecosystem, you get tied to that ecosystem. And those people, doesn't mean they aren't willing to change, because I think some people also get bored of those ecosystems they're tied to. But you need to really reduce the pain of moving to a device, right? So let's say for people who are currently, you know, maybe they're BlackBerry users and they've switched to Android or iOS or something, and now they want to pick up the new BB10 phone when it hits. They're like, oh, this looks hot. You know, I loved my BlackBerry back in the day, kind of thing, but it just didn't keep up. I'm going to give it a try again. You need to make that pain of converting back to BlackBerry so dead simply easy that it's straightforward, you know, and never in the past with like desktop manager software and everything has that experience been as easy as it needs to be, you know, like, and I know because we get a lot of website traffic that's coming through Google looking for help on these topics, right? So, you know, it's not easy because people need help with it. But so they need to have like a BB Easy program that is just focused on making that so dead simple of an experience that anybody
nice name,
can do
Kevin. BB Easy.
BB Easy. Yeah, it's good, right? And the only problem is like RIM's. The only thing is RIM's Canadian, so they would say BB-EZ, and it just doesn't work the same.
The you know, just the integration as far as like the setup and stuff, you know, because we, you know, as tech geeks, we switch devices all the time, you know, or go back and forth, and having that ability to just, you know, pick it up and get up and running is a big thing. And when you have, you know, the BlackBerry in the current state, it's hard, you know, because you pick up iOS device, you plug in your Gmail information, you know, your contacts, calendar, emails, like they all show up there. But there's so many hoops that you have to jump through now to be able to do that on BlackBerry, as far as, you know, setting up your calendar sync. And if you're going to do everything through Biz, or I actually use the old the Google Sync app still, because I sync with my wife's calendar, and that's the only way to pull in the two calendars and stuff like that. So I think just from the get-go, you know, having it ask you for your info for whatever accounts, and then everything just kind of populating on its own is what needs to happen, so there's not so many steps to, you know, the initial setup portion, because it's a pain in the ass.
But and I think with the sort of the we need a better word than synergy here, but you know, the BlackBerry cloud contact stuff, that part of it's not bad, but it's the music and those other things, right, that need to be equally easy. Because I think iTunes is fairly heavily used around the world, and you know, there is iTunes Music Sync in that, but again, making these, I don't want people to have to think when they pick up a BlackBerry 10 device, right? It just needs to do all the heavy lifting for them. So, I don't know.
CrackBerry Nation, Renee here again. I just wanted to tell you more about our special sponsor for today's show, Hover.com. They are the best-in-class domain name registration. They are to domain name registrations what BlackBerries are to smartphones. Just the cleanest, quickest, best experience imaginable. You go there, they don't try to upsell you, they don't try to surround you with neon lights and blinking everything. They just want to get you your domain and get you going as fast and as well as possible. We have used them recently for a lot of our domain registrations. Some of our new podcasts were registered right with Hover.com. I'm a huge fan of their service. I've been using it for years. If you want to try it out, if you want to check into it, if you want to show your support for the CrackBerry.com podcast, just head on over to hover.com/CrackBerry. You can get 10% off your domain registration. So if you have a great idea, for the next big website, for the next big show, for the next big anything. Go to hover.com, secure your domain now, get 10% off. Now back to Kevin and the crew.
Yes.
Whew. What are we talking about? Time for RIM's new CEO?
Make it happen.
Yep.
Let's do it.
So it was January 22nd.
Sorry.
It was no, we got to set the scene. It was January 22nd, 2012, approximately 9:20 p.m. It was a Sunday night. CrackBerry Kevin was sitting on the couch with Miss CrackBerry, drinking wine, watching a movie. I think it was called The Ides of March, actually. Then I get a phone call from one Adam Zeiss. Adam says, Kevin, like Jim and Mike are gone. There's a new CEO. I'm like, Adam, what the fuck are you talking about? He's like, seriously. My laptop's like only 10 feet away at the kitchen table. So I'm plugged in. So I run. I'm like, okay, is there a press release? He's like, not yet. It's like on the Globe and Mail or something like that. So I'm like, okay, give me the links as soon as Skype. So he sends me a couple links. I run to the computer. I start looking at it. I start to type the blog post title for like, RIM new CEO. I might have hit submit on it even with like one sentence, story developing. And then my phone rings and it's a 519 number. And I'm like, 519, that's Waterloo. What's going on? And I answer the phone and it's Heidi from RIM, who's sort of head of PR. And she's like, Kevin, it's Heidi. And I'm like, hey Heidi, what's up? This is kind of crazy. She's like, I got somebody here who wants to talk to you and say hi. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then literally it's like, Kevin, it's Thorsten Heinz. I just wanted to let you know that I know you've been wanting this position, but I got the job, so you're not gonna get it. So it was pretty awesome, right? And then I was just like, well, half cut was part of the problem on a Sunday night. A couple glasses of wine, and then we just started talking. I'm like, congratulations. And I mean, I was barely up to speed on what was going on. And literally when we were talking, that was when the official press release dropped, which was about 10 minutes after, I think WSJ and Globe and Mail and a couple other big places had it. And he was like, yeah. He's like, I know you didn't get the, the release. We had a couple, media people come down earlier today and that, so they had the stories. But he's like, at least you got the first phone call. And yeah, he's looking forward to everything. And I congratulated him. And he said, Kevin, I got time for 2 quick questions. And I was like, and actually the phone kind of broke up a little bit. And I was like, is there anything you want to say to CrackBerry Nation? But I don't even think he heard that. So then he said, well, it's going to be, he's like, I'll try to get you some time. And then, I said bye. And then Heidi came back on. And I think they were probably laughing at me because they're like, Kevin is just like out of it right now. And, they promised they'd try to get me a few minutes later in the week to actually have some questions prepared, because obviously I didn't at the time. But this was huge. Like, honestly, 5 years of trying to get an interview with RIM's CEOs, and not once has it happened. I mean, we've had a pretty good working relationship with RIM through conferences and everything else on the media PR side of that, but never once have I been able to get that sit down with Mike or Jim. And yeah, I mean, Tor took care of it in literally 5 seconds. So, I mean, what a way to get CrackBerry just energized, and the whole audience. I mean, talking to me, that's talking to our community, right? And that is just a totally different RIM, right? So I'm so excited, and I've seen, since then the community's been jazzed up, and we've been killing the trolls, and it's like everybody's super positive for the future again, because we've had a pretty challenging 18 months on the BlackBerry CrackBerry front. So I don't know. That's that story, right? More detail than you guys probably wanted, but that's where we put the deal into these podcasts. So what do you think?
Good
Chris,
story. I like
Blaze, Adam. It is a good story, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice to see them, being more media friendly from sea level.
Yeah, and I think the thing too is, right, it wasn't that, I'm sure I saw like a Toronto Star article that was sort of saying like, well, they called some blogger named Kevin, but they didn't, return our calls yet. So I'm sure there's a little bit of, I don't know even what the word is, right? Like, but I mean, it was not like we're going to give CrackBerry the first interview with the new CEO. I mean, this was just like a jovial, friendly thing. We've been running a series of stories for a long time about, Is it going to be the ham sandwich for chairman of the board and CEO and those kinds of things? So this was huge, right? This was just like good spirited, great way to kick off a new start and show, like, not just, say you're going to change, but literally change in a snap of a finger the direction of the company. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously we sort of benefited from that. So I could say, I'm biased when I say I think it was a brilliant, awesome thing to do. But literally, it's a brilliant, awesome thing to do, right? So super stoked and made for a crazy week, right? As many interviews as Heinz gave in the next 7 days, I think I gave probably as many or more. So I got literally no work done. I was just on the phone constantly with different outlets and people wanting to get the CrackBerry take of what these changes mean, because it's huge, right? And I mean, we saw Heinz give a lot of interviews the first few days. Some the reactions from the media and that were a little bit lukewarm at the start, and I think you have to realize too, when if you're I think it was good that RIM had all these materials prepared, like the YouTube video and that. I'm pretty sure the reason they did that wasn't necessarily that they wanted to use them as super big marketing pieces for the new CEO. It was probably more like, well, who knows what could leak, and if something like this leaks, we need to be like set up that we don't look like we're on our caught off guard. So I think they had that stuff all kind of taken care of just in case, right? Which
yeah,
is pretty smart.
And there was definitely word out there. I mean, over that weekend, I was getting emails from people in the media, asking about the different background on executives that might take over the CEO role. So there was knowledge that this was coming.
Yeah,
not on my part.
No, not on mine either, right? Like I was, like shocked, right? Like you knew that at some point maybe something was going to happen, but I wasn't expecting the trigger to drop like that, or the trigger to get pulled like that. So, and then yeah, I mean I think Heinz did a really good job with those first set of interviews. I think the big thing watching him is, Mike and Jim over the years, even watching them on stage, watching them in those kinds of interviews, I always felt like there's like Mike and Jim, the real person, and then they sort of put on their CEO hat, so to speak, when they were talking to the media. So you weren't really talking to them anymore. You were talking to them playing the role of CEOs. And Heinz is very personable. Like when you're talking to him, and he can walk that line of, friendly, normal person to, okay, I'm a CEO too, so I gotta, stick to the agenda here a bit. And I think he's good. And I mean, his background is definitely as an execution guy. He's talked already about his German efficiency and his love for process discipline. And I think it's what RIM needs. We've had a lot of editorials go up. Chris, you've done some on was he the right guy for the job versus bringing in an outsider. And I've kind of done mine too. I think saying, he is the right guy for the job. This is, bringing in some rock star CEO who's going to like look at the strategy and change things. RIM doesn't have that kind of time. They have a new strategy already. They need to execute on it. So it's the right mentality.
Yeah. I like your idea though, that bringing in somebody to lead BlackBerry USA would make a lot of sense, and they could still build depth to their sales and marketing organization and their basically media friendly part of the organization by doing that. And that leaves Torsten able to run the company.
Exactly. There's no reason you can't do both here, right? It's not an either or type of situation. Mm-hmm. Like, best of both worlds. And if Wall Street and Silicon Valley want a quote rock star CEO, go find that guy, but just put him in that position where he can do all the PR front relationship building sides of things, have some good ideas, but not like derail the company, which often happens with those kinds of people when they come in. Mm-hmm. So, and I think, Chris, you made the best point about Heinz, which is he's new enough that he's not part of the old boys club, and he's been there long enough that he knows what's broken and needs to be fixed, and he's in a position where he can execute on change. He's not just coming in building relationships. Yeah. He knows everybody. So.
The funny thing is, though, that's probably the aspect of the article I got the most pushback on. A lot of people who criticized that argument said, look, he's been there 4 years. that's not new. In the world of technology, so much moves so fast. He's not a new player. I see where the argument's coming from, but I still disagree. I think that the bottom line is he's not part of the old boys club. He's not part of that team that built RIM from the late 90s through till, basically when they peaked, which is around the time that he came in.
Totally agree. And I think, I think it's, I think too, looking back at the preceding months, right, the best thing that Mike L did was he announced on that last earnings call that BlackBerry 10 phones won't be coming till later in the year. Because, between that and between the CEO stepping down, you've now changed, they've already changed the tone of the articles coming out in the media, right? First it's like, what's RIM going to do that's new? What's RIM going to do that's new? Like, they're way behind. Now, he stopped that and he said, okay, look, the phones are going to be late in the year. We're going to keep the BB7 revenue machine firing as long as we can, internationally, etc. We're going to try to advertise more in the States and get more sales there. So, from a business standpoint, they got cash in the bank. They still have revenue. They have some time. They don't have an infinite amount of time, but they've got time to work on this. And then after that, though, the attention turned to Mike and Jim, right? And all the articles are like, these buffoons got to go, blah, 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 blah. And it became all about them instead of about, BlackBerry. So now they took themselves out of the story, right? And they basically left Heinz in a position where he can execute. And the first real judgment on Heinz as a leader will be with the launch of those phones. Versus, if the next earnings call isn't so great, if the one after that isn't so great, they're going to deal with it, but they're going to deal with it not as part of Heinz as much as that's kind of a legacy. We know the state of things. And then basically it's once BB10 hits, that's when Heinz gets first judged, in my opinion, as how good a job he's doing. So at least he's got some time. It's not hitting him day one, right, where he's on his back foot.
Yeah. When they announced the delay, though, in BlackBerry 10, when Mike Lazaridis announced that in the last conference call, that really was, to me, a blow in my bullish feeling about the company. And so now I think we really need to see this OS 2 just be awesome, and we need to see more teasers around what's coming with BlackBerry 10 that make it more impressive to us than we thought it might be. So I really hope that they can do things like, show us what's coming with J-Cut, do things on the playbook over the next several months before they launch OS 10 and show us the fruits of their labor.
Well, so it's going to be interesting. So if you just think about RIM from an event perspective, right? So we had DevCons, we had CES, Mobile World Congress is coming out. I don't think we'll see anything big there. RIM's next big event is BlackBerry World. But that's in May, and that's too early for them to have, I think, the final hardware out, right? They're not going to announce it there if they're literally not releasing it till September, October, November. It's far too big a period to overhang the market. But they need to do something at BlackBerry World, right? And we're still waiting for, the NDK isn't out yet, right? It's still just maybe beta, private betas.
Still beta.
It's still, but is it available or is it private or public beta?
No, I'm pretty sure it's public, but it's just still a beta.
But with Cascades in that though?
Oh no,
I don't think.
Yeah,
well,
I think.
No,
I'm thinking playbook. Sorry.
Yeah,
right,
the BB10 sticks. I don't think it's out yet.
Right. So if you think about the timeline now, it's kind of like, okay, if phones are coming later in the year, BlackBerry World's coming up, then the native BB10 dev kit hasn't been released yet. Maybe BlackBerry World makes a good time for that sort of thing, and then you still have 5-6 months for devs to work on apps. RIM needs to close their ecosystem, so I think you're going to see some stuff happen at BlackBerry World. I don't know what, but I'm hoping that's where we start to get this glimpse, right? I don't know if they'll show us BB10, but hopefully we start to see what's capable with the platform at that show, and then we get those teasers kind of leading up to what's actually in the device. Now, go ahead.
Exactly. Yeah, I was going to say, I agree with you 100%. We don't, funny as it sounds, we don't really need to see the hardware at that show. These things are becoming sheets of glass. What we need to see is, what does that sheet of glass do when you play with it?
Yeah. Totally.
And so if they give us Cascades and they show us Cascades implemented everywhere on that user interface and just blow us away with how freaking cool it looks.
Yeah. I was going to say TAT, it's the astonishing tribe, but I have a new nickname for TAT and what it really stands for. Teasers are torture, because we keep seeing TAT and it's all these like awesome demos, but it's like, I don't care about the demos anymore. I just want to see it in a device that's working. And actually, I told some of the TAT people that at DevCon Europe when I met them at a party, and they thought it was funny and they were going to work it into one of their Monday meetings or something like that. But
doodle it.
No, dude, yeah, we should doodle it. TAT, teaser to torture. No, yeah, no, it's going to be interesting. But again, we should talk a little bit more about what's coming in BlackBerry 10, because we have seen a couple things. Leaked phones and leaked some screen caps that are questionably mixed with photoshopping, but legit. So, hey, wait, did somebody just say? Oh, I thought somebody called me annoying in the chat, but they just agreed with me. Sorry, Death Command.
They agreed.
It was in agreement with your TAT comment.
Whew, okay, I was like, Kevin, you're so annoying. I'm like, no shit, everybody knows that. But you don't have to say it. You just have to think it. No, it's too funny. But so Heinz, though, we didn't finish that, and I want to finish that. So then later in that week, we got our first interview with the CEO. It was over the phone. I was hoping to do it over a PlayBook video chat, but I didn't have that idea until like the last second, so we couldn't really pull it together. But yeah, we had some time. We asked some questions. The interview's all up there. I mean, we ran it, so I think everybody who cares has already seen it. But again, RIM CEO followed through with his first promise, and he said he'd give us a few minutes that week if he could, and he did it. So I was like, all right, this guy, A-OK in my book. And I don't know, super positive, right? It actually, I think I wrote in one article and I said, I feel now the way I did in like 2006 when we were, CrackBerry was under development and we were launching the site. Because if you go back to that time frame, it was like, BlackBerry devices were still, it was the Big Blue was there. The 8700 wasn't even out yet when I started to kind of work on things, or it was just coming out, or it was just out. And, RIM wasn't a big name. I mean, there was no iOS. The smartphone space was still kind of, you didn't know what was going to happen, right? So it was just, it had a lot of excitement and a lot of hope. It was fun blogging day to day, but there wasn't really a massive anything yet. And those were exciting times. I loved it. You just didn't know what was going to happen, but you felt good about things. And then obviously there's a lot of success over the years that followed. But now I feel like we've rewound to that period of time again where it's, super excited, don't know what's going to happen, but I don't know. I'm excited every day now to see what happens, and now we're a little bit smarter, a little bit wiser. Competition's a little more fierce, but I don't know. Never give up. It's going to be good.
Just got someone in the comments saying that RIM should change their name to BlackBerry. Not something you'd disagree with, I think, right, Kevin?
Well, I did write an article about that, and it got a lot of resentment, and I think a lot of people just didn't read the article. So there's a new rule for any editorial, which is you have to read the entire thing before you leave a comment, because I get really mad at poorly formed comments. But yeah, I think it makes sense. I mean, again, it's consumer brands. I think people buy products, but they also have an affinity to the company. And you think about it, and Apple, Google, those types of companies, Palm also, right? People have a emotional connection to the companies, and RIM, Research in Motion, a lot of people don't even know that's the company behind BlackBerry, and a lot of people who do know, it's just not a company name that evokes an emotional feeling, right? Like it just doesn't have that sort of consumer feel for it. So I think if you just simplify things, again, simplify, getting rid of that layer of confusion is good. And it doesn't change anything. BlackBerry, the company, can still own TAT. It can still own QNX in cars. It doesn't matter, right? It's just one layer gone that you don't need. It's the Research in Motion BlackBerry Bold 9900. Let's just keep it a BlackBerry Bold 9900, right? It's still a BlackBerry smartphone, and it's the Bold 9900. You just don't need that extra layer. It doesn't add any value. So what do you guys think? Please agree with me. I'm sick of people arguing over that one.
I totally agree.
Yay!
I mean, it's pretty clear when was that you pointed it out even in your article. I mean, when Jeopardy gets it wrong, like, come on, just change your freaking name because people globally don't get it.
And I mean, even the Twitter and everything, right? Like, you know, RIM embraces the BlackBerry brand as if it's the company name in most of their, you know, social marketing things. Mm-hmm. So you might as well just take the step. And I mean, it's, again, like some of the comments were, there's no time for this. It's a distraction. I mean, frick, you got 14 or 15 or 16,000 people. You just put 50 people on taking care of it for a couple of weeks and it's done, right? Maybe it's a little bit more work than that, but it's not gonna slow down
legal paperwork than anything else.
Yeah, it's not.
You know, the best part, Kevin.
Yeah.
The best part is it would be guaranteed to not have a copyright infringement lawsuit.
That is true too.
You know, BBX.
Yeah. Oh,
it's weird too. I mean, you just look at the little things, like, you know, because they sponsor quite a few things, like the you know, the New Year's celebration and different stuff. And I did a post I've gone up today. There's this show that J-Lo and Mark Anthony are doing called K Viva, you know, and it's sponsored by BlackBerry. Like, it's not sponsored by RIM, you know. And how many other products do you think of, you know, that things that are sponsored? They're not sponsored by, you know, Oreo. They're sponsored by Nabisco, you know. And it's just weird the way that their names are kind of interchangeable for some things and not for others.
Yeah.
So it's
Waterloo, right? If you go to Waterloo, there's lots of stuff sponsored by Research in Motion because everybody there knows it. This is funny. Yeah. One of our comments in the live chat from John Maxwell, he's saying the most valuable brand RIM has now is QNX, not BlackBerry, which I disagree with. I mean, you could argue it's a valuable asset, QNX. But that's not a valuable brand.
It's not a valuable brand. It is valuable as a brand to the geeks and to us who know about it. You know, another point on BlackBerry versus Research in Motion is, like, look at any phone made by Samsung, made by HTC, made by Nokia. The company name is on the phone. You turn around a BlackBerry and you see, well, it says BlackBerry on it, and you got a BlackBerry logo. It doesn't see Research in Motion anywhere, and I think that's makes the point just a little bit stronger.
Yeah, and I think even I bring it back to the people, right? Like, think about, say, Google employees, right? There's almost an aura around, like, oh, you work for Google, oh, you work for Apple. And then with BlackBerry, it's kind of like, oh, you work for a company called RIM. You know, like, it's just, I want people, there's a lot of great people who work for RIM. I want them to get the max benefit. Yeah, we can kill the RIM job jokes. No, it's true though, right? We can kill the RIM job jokes. But I just want that, you know, aura to build up for the people. It's better for the people, even, like, to feel like, yeah, I work for BlackBerry once, you know, it's on top. And people are going to love the doodle we have up going today, actually. So stay tuned for that, because it's basically BlackBerry in the year 2013 taking over the USA again. But exciting. Okay, we got to wind this down because we made a rule that our shows would only be an hour, and we're already going to be close to that. But I want to talk about some of the some of the BlackBerry 10 stuff we've seen. So we posted a few weeks ago. Adam, do you know the date?
We
had a good month on the tip line. So on January 31st, last day of the month.
January 31st.
Yeah, the evening was January 31st. I was actually at my parents' home because I went for a doctor's appointment and I was visiting. And then I had this awesome photo that I received through just fate of what looks to be a BlackBerry 10 superphone. And knowing the source and the image, I knew it wasn't photoshopped and therefore it was real. However, that doesn't mean this is the final version of what the first BlackBerry 10 superphone will be, because this looked a lot different than the first images of London we saw, which were very kind of crazy angular silver black. This looks more like a shrunk down playbook, but also doesn't quite look final. Plus, you know, RIM buying more time to get to the end of the year to give out, you know, to get to BlackBerry 10 versus anything that would have been a few months old. There's going to be changes in here, but it gave a very good look at the hardware. Kind of a crazy like very tall, thin device, right? With I guess that sort of HD screen resolution, but pretty exciting. And that story obviously caused a lot of excitement. And front-facing camera, people are excited. And from there, just this week, we posted some interesting screen caps. Probably the weirdest leak I've ever received. But it was basically a marketing document. So not made by RIM, but made by one of RIM's partner companies who works on their marketing. I mean, I could say the name. I don't really care. It was Digital Kitchen, so big player. And it was a briefing document to another company, and it was basically looking like it was recruiting for like setting the stage for laying out commercials and hiring actors and setting up scene development. And it went through a whole bunch of stuff, right? And maybe one day I'll post it, because I saw some people saying, oh, it's Photoshop, it's a fake document. Anybody who thinks that, you're stupid. And if you don't trust my word on that, you're even stupider. But and actually, I ran it past a lot of a few other high profile bloggers on other sites just to get their take on it, right? Because some people had questions based off what we posted. But it's very interesting because in this document, there was BlackBerry 7 hardware being shown off. And actually, that photo right there with the hands holding it, if you Google search, that photo was actually from BB India, and somebody's like photoshopped on that screen cap on top of that hardware photo in the hand. So it was like people working for this marketing company putting together this briefing document, right? So like RIM didn't do these final photos, but what matters is the screen caps on the photos. And when you look through the whole document, when you look at this, right, like Erica Josephson and Alistair, whatever the last name was there, scroll too fast. You search them, they're all RIM employees, right? Like it's not somebody like, this isn't somebody's being like, I'm going to make a fake Photoshop and send it in. Like absolutely not, right? So if you're RIM and you're working with companies, you're going to prepare materials to give to companies for briefing them. You have to give them the outline. You can't just say, oh, the new OS is going to be this, this, this. You're going to give them some screen caps and things to look at. And I think some of those images, that's what you're seeing, right? And then the marketing company took them, put them on to whatever hardware to make this kind of briefing document. And but you look through it, there's a few very interesting things, and you can tell what isn't, what are RIM thoughts, right? Like I've heard for a long time now that BlackBerry 10 ultimately there's going to be some sort of I don't know if widget's the right word. I use the word widget because I think a lot of people know it, but it almost looks like RIM's version of live tiles or widgets. Which we saw. And I mean, I've heard that that's coming to BlackBerry 10 for a while now. So to see it, I was like, oh, okay. And if you look at the implementation, it's like, oh yeah, that actually makes sense. And there's no way that was like the guy at Digital Kitchen photoshopping for fun, right? Like this is a RIM provided cap. And if you look at even the home screen of icons, you see some things in there that are very TAT, right? Like you look at the clock icon and it's showing you the date for when the next alarm is set. I'm like, oh, that's pretty clever, actually. Like that's a great feature. You're looking at the pictures icon and it's showing you the most recent photo from your albums in a stack, right? And that's something that's like, oh, that's a pretty smart design feature. And you look at even the color display page where it's showing you an option for video chat. I mean, those are all legit things, right?
Just so little stuff too. You look at, like the one that stands out for me is cut the rope, because it's, RIM does that all the time where they kind of sneak in these icons for, coming soon things. Like we saw the cut the rope and the PVZ on, tons of playbook screen caps and stuff before they were announced and released. So, it's either a really smart move on the, the company there, or it's, RIM sneaking it in there. So.
Exactly. So, I mean, looking at those images, you have to take them with a grain of salt, right? And put it into context of how that came through. So those could be old images, they could be conceptual, some could be a little more final, some could be not, but you definitely get a sense of what's coming, right? This isn't stuff we've seen in OS 2 or BB7, like it's definitely future looking. There's some ideas in there that are pretty interesting. Where I got confused about, and where I was, debating with another, again, blogger on another site who's well regarded, was exactly looking at static images like that. How does the UI work? Because when you look back to that first photo of London that The Verge posted, it very much had a shrunk down PlayBook OS 2 interface where you had your icon tray at the bottom, open apps were above, and you can swipe back and forth through them. But then when you get into this and you have like a live tile view, and then you have another screen cap showing the full set of icons, it's kind of like, okay, so what's an open app look like? How do I do that, minimized multitasking on the home screen? Or maybe were those live tiles actually minimized apps and they become a live tile instead of a, there's actually two views. So the current way is you actually see the full app shrunken down, but it's kind of useless. So maybe they build in two views into apps where you have the full open view, and then you give developers the ability to build a minimized app view. So it could be running minimized and still be providing useful content.
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome. I was like, if RIM does tiles that way, that would be wicked.
And if the app is closed, then you just show a static a screen, a static icon. But if it's open, yeah, you can have a live version of it. That would be totally amazing. I mean, and Qnix can totally handle that.
Exactly. So I think there's something there, right? But it wasn't completely. I mean, I just want to see this thing in action is what it comes down to. So, I mean, the comments were a little bit mixed. People are like, if I wanted Windows Phone, I'd buy a Windows Phone and blah, blah, blah. And I don't think that's the case, right? I think RIM is going to really, I mean, heck, everybody in mobile is kind of ripping everybody in mobile lately, right? The good ideas are good ideas. They're going to show up everywhere. But I think there's some interesting stuff here happening. And I think what I like too is, it's not completely alien to BlackBerry 7. It looks like there's going to be some things that there's going to be some familiarity that carries through, which is good for guys like us. Because if we wanted something completely different, we may have already switched, right? Like I want what's best about BlackBerry taken to that next level. So I think RIM is being very mindful of that with BlackBerry 10, and I'm excited. I don't know. Blaze, what do you think? You're very quiet.
I think BlackBerry 10, from the images and stuff, and I mean, everything that we've seen thus far isn't necessarily completed, because basically we've seen 3 different transitions between, UI concepts and everything now. So when the final product, I'm reserving most of my judgment for pretty much when I actually have a final product in my hand. But I don't look at it, looking at the UI or anything like that, how's this going to work? How's that going to work? I'm just looking at it like, is RIM changing? Are they looking to go ahead and change these things for the better? And because, BlackBerry 4, 5, 6, 7, they're all just iterations of the same thing. And RIM does need, people don't have a problem with RIM's hardware. RIM's hardware is beautiful. The BlackBerry Bold 9900 is beautiful. There's nothing wrong with RIM's hardware. The problem that most people take with RIM these days is the operating system. So if they can fundamentally change the operating system but still keep it BlackBerry, polish it up, make it look beautiful, give everybody, the type of stuff that they want, the capabilities that they want, because BlackBerry has been limited for a long time in regards to what it can do on the device itself. If they can bring the operating system up to par with all of the other operating systems and make it look beautiful at the same time, they're on the right track. That's what they need to do. They need to be able to go ahead and refresh the operating system, not necessarily give people something that they haven't seen before, but they need to be on par with everything else that's out there on the market. So if they can do that, then they've pulled it off. In my mind, if they can give me something as compelling as Apple, as some of the Android stuff that's out there, then they've done their job. I'm happy at that point. And like I said, the images are great. I love looking at the concepts. I love looking at the ideas and seeing what they're going to be doing. But once they get that device into my hands, that's going to be the real factor here for me. Because if it works the way that I hope that it's going to work, then RIM will continue to move on and succeed and bring, I hate to say make a comeback, because in my opinion they're not really dead, so they don't have anywhere to come back from, but they need to regain that consumer respect, I guess you could say. And if they can do that, if they give me all of that stuff, then I'll be pleased with it. And again, most people don't have a problem with RIM's hardware. Everybody loves the keyboards. Everybody loves the devices. They're beautiful pieces of hardware. It's just that the OS is stagnant. And if they can bring that up to par, then we're good.
Blaze, I agree with you. I mean, there's some comments going on in the chat room here that, disagreeing with you basically, but my take is the same. Their hardware is awesome. The user experience needs to be improved. The comment specifically was they need to exceed the competition. I think if they bring the user experience up to par in terms of where Android and iOS are, they will exceed the competition, because the BlackBerry features that we already have are amazing, like integrating everything into the inbox and the multitasking. And if they bring the UI up to speed, they will be exceeding the competition already on a whole package. What they'll be missing is apps, and they really need to solve that problem. They need to get the big names in there, like Skype, and I've seen some comments. And
everybody disagree with me that they need to be able to go ahead. I don't necessarily mean that RIM has to stop there. I mean, as a first step to be able to get things back in order to the way that they were, they need to be able to meet the expectations of everybody else. You know, if they can get to that point, then they're back in the game, and then they can move on and, you know, go ahead and excel beyond everything else. But, you know, I agree with you as well, Chris, because everything that is already built into BlackBerry, everything that we know about BlackBerry is already great. But if they can bring some of that other stuff in, then, you know, they're back on track, and that's what we really need them to be, is back on track and getting out there. And
should that be the name?
Letting people
I think that's
know
the name of this podcast,
dead.
Guys. It's going to be CrackBerry Podcast, back on track.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, Kevin and I were talking about this on Skype a couple of days ago, that RIM, to win or to be successful, RIM doesn't need to get iOS people and Android people onto the BlackBerry. They just need to make sure that they're competitive so that the huge chunk of the market that's not on a smartphone yet, you know, is looking at BlackBerry as a contender.
Amen. I think that's how we should wind down this podcast right now.
Absolutely. So we can get to our workouts for the rest of Fitness Month.
For Fitness Month, which, so hopefully nobody watching this podcast saw me with my shirt off. If you did, I'm sorry.
Maybe we can fix that right now.
But you know what, though? It's like, I'm actually like, it's been a horrible Fitness Month for me. Traveling, and then I've been sick twice. I'm like, right now I'm sick, and I look like shit, right? But, so March might be my Fitness Month, and April and May, but trying to lay down some good habits this month at least. Adam, you're looking good.
Well, thank you.
Chris, you always look good. You don't need Fitness Month, bugger.
I am. I'm still working to improve.
Chris puts us all to shame.
Oh,
it's terrible.
We're gonna. I told him I want to get him on videos. He's gonna do the. We have the Monday Nations mobile brief with Ashley. He's gonna do the Tuesday brief with Chris Umi. Gonna mix things up. It's gonna be exciting times. Or maybe the Friday brief. We should do Mondays and Fridays.
Are you going to take it literally and it's just going to be him and his briefs?
I wasn't going to go there, but I mean, well, you're on the air, Chris. Will you do them in your briefs? No. Please say no. Please say no. All right, guys, that's it. We will be back. You know us. We do these podcasts whenever we get excited and want to do stuff. It's been too long, so maybe it'll be a couple weeks. Maybe it'll be a month. But in the meantime, just visit crackberry.com. Every day, you can find all of us there. You can find me on Twitter at CrackBerryKevin. Adam, where can we find you?
Aboutme.com/Adam and Twitter at Insights and all over in your head.
Umi, where you at?
I am at CU Miastowski on Twitter and ChrisUmiastowski.com, although pretty much most of the stuff I write is going on the Mobile Nation sites these days. So.
Woo! We got him on board.
Yeah.
Blaze, where can we find you?
You can catch me on Twitter, BLA1ZE. You can also catch me on Android Central. You can catch me on iMore. And, of course, you can catch me on CrackBerry as well.
That's pretty good. Renee, is that a good enough job? I'm talking to our invisible producer now. Or should we talk about all our great Mobile Nations podcasts? We've got the Android Central podcast. We've got the iMore podcast. We've got the WP Central podcast. Sometimes it's the WebOS Nation podcast. We've got Zen in Tech. We've got Stock Talk when there's stuff to talk about. We've got Iterate for developers. We've got, I'm missing something here. We've got the Mobile Nations Enterprise one, but
we've got the Mobile Nations podcast, Kevin.
Oh, we've got the Mobile Nations Cross-Site podcast. There's too many podcasts. I keep bugging Renee. Let's just do less of them better, which we're kind of doing, and when we need to. But basically, we rule up podcasts. So if you'd like this one, listen to the other ones too.
MobileNations.com/shows.
And just so people know, we don't actually make money off of podcasts ever. So it really detracts from all our other things we need to do. So if you like them, you should, I don't know, spread the word and
PayPal me money.
PayPal us money. No, I don't know. We need to figure that out one day. But in the meantime, we love doing it for you guys. We do these for you. So we hope you enjoyed it.
Yay.
Game over. The end.
See ya.
All right, guys.
Kevin out.
I guess. Oh, yeah, Kevin out. God, why do I forget that?